Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Sarah Martin with The Contoured Chemist. Yes, I'm kind of whispering because I will explain in a minute. It's bright and early here. We're gonna go ahead and put on our face for the day. You guys have been asking me how I get ready in the morning and then I touch up my face without removing my makeup for if I wanna go on a date night. So I'm gonna show you how I apply quickly when it's early and you're in a rush, and then what I would do later to touch up and freshen up. So if you want to check it out, please keep watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and thanks for being here. Okay guys, sorry for the whispering. I'm gonna try not to talk too much. Such is my life right now. I've got a child sleeping in the other room with pink eye. Fun. And I still have boxes all around me. So let's do this. I'm gonna show you how I put on my face for a normal day, which to be honest is usually fast. And I've got about 15 minutes before I need to wake him for a doctor's appointment. So let's do this. Okay, the only thing I've done so far is dampen my perfector as I poured my coffee. Always start with priming my eyes. Obviously, I already did my skincare. I washed my face when I was fixing my hair, and all I have on is my glow screen, my sunscreen. And so it has sat long enough that I can go in with makeup as quick as possible. So when it comes to applying, if you want your makeup to last all day, you guys know I don't really believe that you need a primer. There's no reason unless you're super oily. So skip the primer. Our makeup doesn't need one. And I'm just gonna apply like I normally do. Most important thing is making sure I match the darkest points of my face. Because if not, the makeup will fade. That's just the way our makeup works. So I'm gonna make sure I use my color corrector, and that way it's not gonna fade. It's not gonna crease or budge as easily as long as I'm matching those darkest points. So if you're not correcting and you have issues such as redness or hyperpigmentation that need correcting, and you find that you're really having to touch up your makeup later because either the depth of the darkness is showing through or your redness is peeking out, that's just because the one shade you're using for coverage is too light to cover those points. Color corrector is going to mean that you'll need far less of even your other shade, and you won't have to touch up as much. So you'll see later, I probably won't need to touch up much at all, because I know for sure how to match my darkest points and get the best longevity with my colors. Doesn't matter if I'm going in for a natural or a full coverage look, I still use all three shades. So let's do this. I'm gonna use the blend brush. And since I'm in a hurry, I'm gonna use the blush end of the blush and bronzer because this is way faster than me using this to hit all of my darkest areas. So I'm gonna hit my hyperpigmentation. My redness isn't too bad today, but hyperpigmentation, my entire nose is darker through here, under eyes, redness, all of those things. Just barely getting some on the brush so I can buff it in to a large area. And this brush buffs on really well in order to get a really thin layer. See how much coverage that gives, just that alone. Okay, so I like to hit the high points of my face first. High points are the parts that stick out. Normally those are the darkest points on people's faces. So forehead, nose, cheeks, chin. Now, that definitely hit some dark points, but I still have some more detailed areas that need more coverage. And this brush is pretty big to get into. I call those nooks and crannies. So I pick up the small end of the blend brush, and now I'm going to press on more. Well, first I'm going to buff on more to those areas that that brush couldn't reach. and hit areas like melasma and some dark points that maybe need a little bit more. And this can vary daily for me because my dark points definitely, some are darker than others depending on the day. Okay, by now my eye primer has set, so I can go ahead and do all those veins that show through because I have thin skin. And then I'm gonna balance this area that's just really light. So again, my veins show through, giving me dark circles. And then I've got pooling of hyperpigmentation through here that gives me even more depth. Gotta love under eyes. So much better already. Okay, now I look and see if I have any blemishes or dark spots that need more coverage. Now is the time to hit them and press on more, like that guy right there. Coffee break. Okay, I'm gonna switch brushes. Again, this one covers a lot faster. Yes, this will give it a lot more natural coverage, but for today, I kind of want medium is what I'm going for. So I'm gonna tap in, tap on. Just gonna bounce the brush, and the more you practice this technique, the faster you get at really covering like your whole face in a couple seconds. I'm just barely tapping. This is gonna even out my skin tone. Tone down that warmth a little bit, keep me matching, and build up coverage just slightly. Okay, same thing. We're gonna go in to those smaller areas and just build up coverage a little bit. As always, I can feel a cat hair. It would help if my cats did not sleep at my table. I think that would help. Okay, we're already ready to contour. So, detail. I'm gonna tap in. Oh gosh, I think I got too much for once. Oh well, we're gonna go with it. And then just tap, gently touch my face. I might have enough on my brush for both sides, actually. When people say that they can't see their contour, I'm like, how? If you get enough on your brush, I promise, you'll be able to see it. Like, I still have some on my brush, look at that. So I'm gonna use this side first, and I'm just gonna keep tapping. That's gonna keep pressing that out. And then I'm gonna slowly go upwards, and it will start blending that line up. Okay, and then if you have any wonky lines, tap that with your highlight. Okay, this side, same thing. Forehead. Blend up. Oh my gosh, my hair is all over the place today. And down into the highlight, frame that, jawline. Blend down the neck. can't believe he hasn't woke up yet. I'm gonna do, might do a really simple nose contour. I will probably contour tonight, to be honest. I don't know why. I don't always contour on the daily, but nighttime, date night, I do when it comes to my nose. For some reason, when I wear warm colors like this, I feel like I can look washed out really easily. So let's break out the bronzer. Okay, I've got Bella, Glow Illuminator, and Heat Waves. I like keeping 3 together because this is a big brush and I like to swirl. Okay, so I swirl so that I get it across the surface area, or cat hair, of my brush. That way when I touch my face, it doesn't just like glob here and then I have to blend it out and then I have to move all my coverage. So I swirl into Bella, swirl into Glow, and then if I feel like I need a little bit more warmth, I might barely tap in to Heat Waves and then swirl in these to kind of mix them together. Now I press and just kind of tap on just like I do all my other products, so we're not moving any of those highlight shades. Okay, high points of the face, so forehead, cheeks, nose, chin. I kind of just do it where I feel like I need it. So I usually do a C formation around my eye, warm up my cheek. My gosh, my hair is just driving me nuts today. Okay, on the nose, on the chin, always down the neck, and I usually tap in way more to Heat Waves for my neck in this region. So I like having 3 to kind of adjust depending on what I need. I'll be honest, in the day during the daily lately, I don't feel like I need brightener to stay matching. My neck is darker now, but I will barely use any brightener lately, and I just like not using too much. So I'm just gonna use a little bit down the side of my nose, and then I look for where I have a shadow, and that's it. So I've got I just have a lot of depth on the side of my nose, so I'm gonna hit that. And then I have this wonky shadow just on this eye. So I strategically place. I don't brighten everywhere. Okay, once I've done that, I go in with my perfector. By now it is perfect. I'm like right around that 15 mark. So I'm gonna do a really quick eye look, which is typically what I do on the daily anyway. I really make sure I don't have too much under my eyes. Now, when it comes to knowing I'm gonna have to kind of touch up later, I don't wanna over powder. Now, granted, everybody's skin type is different. If you are another cat hair. If you are oily skin, you might not be able to do this. For me, I like to use the least amount of product as possible, so that way I'm not gonna have a lot of creasing. I'm not gonna have it look cakey if I wanna touch up later, and I'm not gonna have to remove my makeup. So the least amount of powder possible. I never really set my whole face. I'm just gonna touch the vanilla dust right under the eye, and I take it down the side of my nose. If I feel like I'm a little shiny, which I am right now, I'm gonna hit right there and then right here, okay? Sometimes the end of my nose. Now, I always set my eyelids with generous amount of powder so my eyeshadow will last. Now we can go in with lip and cheek real quick. I'm gonna use a new shade. I don't know, this video won't post. I don't know when this video is gonna post, but April 6th, this color is gonna come out. This is Maui, and she's my new favorite. She's so pretty. She's been on repeat since I got her in Mexico. So she is glossy. She's got gold shimmer. She's so pretty. So perfect spring summer color. You guys know I'm a sucker for the glow. I can't stop wearing her. And she's a color I can wear on my lips too. She's so pretty. Oh, love it, love it. I hope she doesn't sell out. While that's out, I am gonna do a really quick line of my lips with suede lip liner so that I can just fill that in. My lips just need a little definition. So pretty. Angel Illuminator. I like to use creams in the day for a natural look, always. I'm gonna do my brows real quick. Okay, now for my eyes, if I'm in a hurry on the daily, I usually go with a warmer mid-tone matte, so either Bubba or Sedona in my crease, and then I put a slight shimmer on the lid, and I'm good to go. So that's what I'm gonna do. Let's go in with Bubba. So I'm not even gonna line my eyes today. If I was, usually on the daily, I would take the multitasker and just use a dark shadow like Cocoa or Revival along the lash line. But I'm gonna keep it simple, go wake up that child. I will show you guys this after picture, and then I will be back in about 8 hours or so, and I'll show you how we would make it a nighttime look. Okay, friends, we are back many hours later. I'll be honest, I'm really tired, and I feel like my hair needs probably more help than my face does, but that's okay. I will do that after we do this. So, if I was just like gonna be going somewhere, I honestly feel like my coverage is still good. I'm just a little shiny in places. If you don't remember, all I used was a little bit of vanilla dust. I don't mind being dewy. I like the way my skin looks when it's glowy. I feel like it looks luminous and hydrating, and this is how I want my skin to look all the time. But how dewy you look is very much a personal preference when it comes to makeup. So this might be way too much shine for some of you. Totally get it. I probably would still pick up my vanilla dust again and knock down that shine a little bit, and then maybe put on some lip, and because my lips never last, this is just lip balm, and run out the door and I'd be good to go. Now, if I was actually wanting to step it up a notch for date night, that's where this comes in. I'm going to show you how we can tweak it a little bit more, but it all depends on your skin type. If you are an oily girl, you might find that you need something like this during the day. Say noon, 1, 2, mid-afternoon, you might need to use a blotting paper and then use vanilla dust as like a touching up powder. Those are the type of people that I recommend a loose powder upon initial application to get through the day. Now, if you know you're going to be wanting to apply more creams later, like you're gonna want to go from maybe natural to like a full coverage look for dinner, then I'd say limit the powder in the morning, because what makes cakiness is creams then if you put powder on and then you put creams over that powder, that's gonna give you cakiness. Also, too much creams and then too much powder can also cause cakiness. So we wanna avoid that if you know what you're gonna be doing. Does that make sense? So for me, I don't really feel like I need many creams. I probably will add more blush. I usually do add more blush, but this is like, my blush is not moved. It's good. And all I did was use that new gloss. So this is one product that I didn't think I would ever use or ever needed because I'm not oily. I have very normal skin. I use extra dewy, extra shiny, which is probably why it's a little shinier than most people's, because I'm using this glow screen. If you do not like a dewy look and you think this is cray cray, don't use that product, okay? Use one that's a little bit more matte. But these are the Seint blotting papers, and I'm just gonna show you the difference they make, even for me, okay? So you gotta think, our creams don't set. They are, like, I don't have any creasing or anything. So they don't set, so the only places that they did technically set was where I put that setting powder around my eyes, nose, but you can see I naturally just get shinier in between the brows and nose and this region. And so that's why I normally just kind of give a little bit more of setting powder there. If I wasn't to use anything at all, this would be magnified, obviously, but our Vanilla Dust truly doesn't, in my opinion, like limit oil production like a matte powder will do, like a heavier loose powder. Another option is to use more of a matte primer just in those regions, and then you might be fine and not need to add any powder at all. But for me, I don't mind being glowy during the day. I like the look, but if I really am gonna reapply, I don't wanna put more on top of that. I wanna almost not remove, but just gonna take off a little excess oil, and you're gonna notice a huge difference, okay? So this is the Seint blotting papers. Now you gotta think, some of this is excess oil that has come out through my pores. Some of it, look at the difference, is just the cream, okay? Our creams don't set, they don't dry down to a powder like traditional foundation does. That's why they don't crack. But it's gonna leave you with a naturally dewy look anyway. But this is just gonna remove any excess oil. And usually all I will do is just kind of blot a couple of areas on my face. It's crazy. This almost like mattifies the area, even though, so if you have an issue with pores, these are really good for using just on those areas where you have pores. Now with anything, it might, I don't really see much at all. It might pull a little product off. I've always said for years, like, if you don't have blotting papers, just use a paper towel and do the same thing. Now you won't see as much on there. And if it's pulling off your makeup, then your color's probably wrong. It shouldn't be pulling off makeup. But it can just pull off any excess oil, okay? So I kind of just use this paper until it's completely gone. I usually just keep these in my purse so that I have them when I'm out and about. If you don't have any of that and you have a dry perfector, I also use the perfector, and it does the same thing. If it's dry, it kind of can pull off some of that excess. And look at that. I haven't even powdered yet. Isn't that awesome? Okay, so usually when I do that, then I can kind of gauge my face and be like, do I need coverage anywhere? Okay. And since I got kind of like, I don't feel like I truly have like I don't feel like this is a powdery finish anymore, right? So the Vanilla Dust kind of sets it in place, but it does not put a heavy powder on the face like something like that loose powder, or if you're going in with a powder puff and baking, it's a different story. You could possibly look cakey if you apply a cream over that. So I would say use a very light hand if you're doing that. since I didn't, I can definitely apply more. So usually the only places I tend to touch up is around my nose. Noses naturally, we blow our noses through the day. We touch our noses a lot. We sometimes touch, like if you think back how you actually touch your face during the day, I feel like I'm so much more aware of my face and not touching for like skincare purposes, that I don't want to break out, that I don't touch my face much. I guess maybe I'm a messy eater because I tend to lose a little bit of coverage, you know, because I had a cheeseburger for lunch and it got all over my chin and I had to use a napkin. So things like that, I know myself and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna probably have to touch up a little bit around my mouth and my nose, and then I'm gonna reassess. So I'm gonna use my color corrector and I'm gonna hit those parts that tend to wear off the fastest. For some reason, it's the tip of my nose. Have you guys noticed how different the skin is on our noses compared to the rest of our face? It's like the under eye skin's very different. This skin is different than everywhere else. And it's just kind of, sometimes it's hard to get things to stick there. Noses are notorious for giving people troubleshooting issues. Look at that, already so much better. Okay, now I'm just gonna look, see if I need to add anywhere. And sometimes this just kind of depends on the day. Sometimes it depends on if my rosacea is flared up that day and if it's kind of starting to peek through. Sometimes it depends on how quickly I did my makeup before, that I might need a lot more touching up. Sometimes I don't need any at all. And I'll be honest, sometimes it just depends on where I'm going, because if I'm going somewhere like where I really want to look nice, I will, you know, touch up almost everywhere. Okay, so all I used was my corrector. I didn't use my main or my brightener, and I don't really know if I'm going to. I guess I could re-brighten slightly because I said I was gonna nose contour. So let's go ahead and brighten the sides. So we can do kind of a reverse contour. So if you saw, did I contour my nose earlier? I think I maybe did a little. If you struggle with nose contour, you can also do a reverse where you put the brightener on first and then you put on the contour lines. So you don't have to worry about getting that straight down the nose line at the beginning. So I'm just gonna kind of brighten right down the center, and I haven't contoured it yet, so you can tell it almost makes it look wider when you're putting more light, because we haven't put that shadow back in. So use a brightener to keep matching if need be, and I'm gonna use it to maybe a little bit on this shadow. But I am being really careful to just use the lightest hand so that I'm not gonna have to fully perfect my face. So if you saw how little was on my brush, you'd probably be like, are you even applying anything? Okay, and this is also a really good time, like if you'd already had your face on and say you feel like your under eyes were just kind of starting to peek out, you could use Demi at that point and just use a little bit of Demi. And say you just want to go in with a little bit of Demi and kind of hit those dark points. This is just a 1. Or even just hit the shadows. That right there is actually green. So I gotta pick up my red. But it just kind of adds a little bit of coverage, especially when you already have pretty good coverage. You won't need to use much. And you really don't have to worry about it getting cakey because you're gonna use such a small amount. So I'm gonna pretend like I have some more special to go tonight, and I'm gonna just beef up my contour a little bit. I think my contour looks okay. It probably be blended a little bit more, to be honest, but it doesn't look bad. Like, it's not like it's missing. So I'm just gonna kind of blend it out. Completely optional, depending on what you want to do. I usually don't touch up my contour unless it's like an event. Okay, but I wanted to show you this. So let's go ahead and do a little reverse nose contouring. We're gonna use the side of the brush. I just got it on that edge. And now I'm gonna make that straight line, like so. And attempt to repeat it. Okay, then I like to flip it around to the big end, get a little bit more contour on the tip, and then blend it up towards the brow. Okay, so now I definitely need to blend that out because I feel like I got too much in this region. So you can pick up the brush you had used for your brightener. Just kind of gently blend, or what I like to do is use the warmth of my fingers. This is what I tend to do, especially if I don't have a damp perfector. And I'm just softening that line. And I just make sure I don't take it all away, but just enough for that to kind of blend. And see, you can still see it there. Okay, now you can use a dry perfector. It will help kind of blur lines a little bit. It just won't remove excess, so I don't use a dry one if I'm trying to get excess under my eyes. Okay, once again, I assess if I need bronzer. I don't feel like I do. I feel like I still have plenty on from before, but if you didn't put on any before, bronzer at night, I always bronze during events too. So I didn't really need that. I am gonna go ahead and set under my eyes and use my powder. I'm gonna use it exactly like I did earlier. Now, this is for my skin type and the look I'm going for. If you want a like full coverage matte, more like you're gonna have pictures done, I recommend using something like a powder puff and maybe some translucent powder, getting some on your powder puff, work it into the back of your hand, and then you can go in and really mattify regions, especially if you're doing a night event. Flash photography looks really good when you have a little bit of matte on your skin. So that is about the only time I will bust out my powder, is for pictures. Otherwise, I want, especially like during daylight time, I don't. Did I already do both under eyes? I started talking and I can't remember, but I think we're good. Okay, so now I don't feel like I look shiny at all anymore. I am good. If you can hear my son, he is now awake. Let's go ahead and blush. So one thing I always do, no matter what. So even if I'm just going to remove some excess, maybe vanilla dust my T-zone, I'm gonna add blush. Even though I think this still looks really good, I just feel like it needs to top it off a little bit. Sometimes if I'm doing an event, I will go darker and I will use something a little bit more bold, like one of the reds, something deeper, or even brighter. Let's see if we can find another color that's getting ready to come back. One of them is Pink Lemonade. So let's go ahead and add a little bit of this. Let's see if it's dried out, because I haven't been able to use it because it's been gone for a while. So this is a more of a cool tone, medium pink. Let's go ahead and just give the cheeks a little bit more of a pop. I feel like this is a very buildable color. Like, you guys know me, I like my pigmented shades so that I can wear it a little bit more subtle or build it up. Like, I like that. And since I can't help myself, I'm going back into Maui, which is the new glowy one, and I'm just gonna hit right up here for the glow on that upper cheekbone. You don't have to go fully matte for pictures. Certain parts, like where you would place illuminator or on your cheeks, looks really good when it's catching the light, especially at nighttime. Now, if this was an event, I also would bust out the powder illuminator. Now, if I was just going to freshen up my face for a basketball game, I probably wouldn't even reapply illuminator. I would just use something like this, and the glow of my lip and cheek is golden. But I'm gonna go ahead and put like the smallest amount of gold. This is Georgia, which means blend brush. This one's clean, not one I use for my highlight. And I just barely touch it, get off excess, and barely touch my skin, because these suckers, for me, I feel like are very blinding and can be too much on myself. Personal preference. If you like that wet highlight look, then this isn't the blend brush. I'm like, wait, this shape feels weird. That's because this is the shape brush. I'm like, I don't remember using, I'm like, they're very similar. This shape lends better to this, but that's okay. Just gonna make me have to wash that brush. No big deal, but you can probably see that. It will give you more of that nighttime glam type of look. So then finishing touches for me are always bold lip or bold eye. If you guys know me, I've been around for a while, I tend to go towards bold eyes for an event, because if I'm eating or drinking anything, I don't want my lips to wear off and then I have to go reapply. So I'm gonna show you this same combo on the lips, and then we can go into a nighttime eye look. Okay, so I'm just gonna use Pink Lemonade as like a base. And back into Maui. You guys might get really sick of me wearing this shade over the next 3 months because she's so pretty. Okay, I don't know why, but for some reason my brows always lose color only on the tail. Like, same spot on both. Maybe I touched that area of my face. We can learn a lot about how we touch our face based on how our face looks after 8 hours. Okay, so I have a really good base of shadow already. No creasing, nice light neutral colors. I do already have a little bit of my halo left from Bubba, but that's just, to me, is like the perfect canvas to add to it. So what I'm gonna do, since I've already got that mid-tone matte there, is I'm going to just work with what I got and deepen it. You never have to remove your eye makeup unless you have like a smoky eye and you want to do the opposite and go with lighter. I feel like eyeshadows build so well upon each other that you don't have to worry about cakiness, nothing like that. It's all powders. Unless you're mixing creams and powders, your eyeshadows will almost go on better and blend better because you already have a base of that light color. And so this you can blend off of and easily go darker without it being an issue to blend. Does that make sense? So I could go in with something much darker than I normally do because it has this Bubba, which is right here, to blend off of. I'm thinking warm, bronzy, smoky eye. I'm a sucker for a bronzy eye, so let's see what we can come up with. Okay, first thing is I'm going to build off of this, and I'm gonna go one darker, and I'm gonna stay warm here in the crease. So one darker and still warm would be going from my Bubba to my Sedona, two of my faves. So this one I'm just gonna go ahead and go right in the crease, and I'm gonna deepen it up a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna try to keep this not overly dramatic so it can be a look you could easily do even during the day, and that way you can do it and then maybe just touch it up or add to it for nighttime. I mean, that's also an option, that you can do the same eye look and then just kind of blend it and blur it, or, you know, if you have creasing, blur it out with adding more and just touch it up. Totally done that before too. Kind of depends on how your eyeshadow wears. Mine tends to wear pretty well. I just tend to sometimes get a little, not messy, but I mean, I've got really hooded eyes, so sometimes I will get a little bit of transfer. And so one way I kind of mitigate that is I don't use eyeliner as much during the day, or if I'm going to, I make sure it is something very waterproof, like this Kat Von D, and then I still will set it with a powder, but sometimes even that powder can migrate. So for me, I didn't wear eyeliner, so that's why I didn't have anything to clean up under my eyes. But for night, you better believe I'm gonna bust out all the eyeliner. Okay, so I got a little Sedona. I'm gonna run that under my eye because smoky eyes, you always kind of want to, can't have an empty lower lash line for a smoky eye look. Okay, just deepen that a little bit. I honestly could end right there if I added liner and be totally happy with it for a nighttime look. But I'm gonna go in, this is Foxy. I'm just gonna use my finger, and I kind of wanted a bronzy look, so I'm just gonna put on a little bit on the eye. Catch that light a little bit. Again, we could end right there. I'm gonna use Black Friday eyeliner. I feel like for a smoky eye, it works better. So I'm gonna pull out my angled brush and our Black Friday cream eyeliner, because I am gonna be using eyeshadow to smoke it out. So it's gonna be setting it anyway. So this eyeliner can be a little bit difficult to learn how to use, but I recommend tapping in, okay, and then pressing on the eye like you're almost stamping it. I don't pull, I'm just like kind of stamping it along the lash line. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, it can be pretty sloppy because you're going to be kind of blurring it out with a shadow. Okay, now I'm going to go into one of my favorite shades of all time. This is Fen. It is like the perfect bronzy, smoky eye shade. Oh, it's a game changer. So use the side of this brush to tap in and make a pretty wide stamping line. You could also use the small end of the eyeshadow brush because you want this wider in order to smoke out that lash line. You see that? I'm not like keeping it close. I'm making it wide and messy, which in turn means it's getting messy on the lower lash line. Okay, I am taking that in that outer corner as well. Depending on how dramatic you want to go, I feel like this is very daytime. If I'd stop right here. If I wanted to take it even a little bit more dramatic, I would take that same color and I'd take it up into that outer corner. So I would take the smudge brush back into Fen and I would just add to it right there and add more depth and use it as an outer corner as well. Didn't use very much there, but you get what I mean. You could easily build that color up with something like Kohl or Trust for a dramatic smoky eye as well, and then just use that because that is a shimmer. Give that bronzy look along the lash line. Okay, blend it out with your mattes if needed. If you need to clean up edges, you can use that highlight brush. And last but not least, I'm gonna go back into that powder illuminator so that I can get a pop of that same shimmer. I'm gonna clean off my brush, my shadow switcher, and then I'm gonna use that to brighten that inside corner, under the brow bone, open up the eye, give it a little bit more drama. And with any smoky eye, loads of lower lash mascara as well to complete it. Okay friends, that should be the finished look. Now I just gotta go change out my accessories and I'll take the final pictures, but I hope that was helpful in showing you how I go from day to night. You can tell I have a lot more of a nighttime look, a little bit more full coverage, even though we did not add that much products to our face. We just used what we already had there and tweaked them a little bit. I'm gonna go see what I can do about this hair. And if you guys need any help with your 3D foundation or your Demi Colour, my color match questionnaire is in the drop box below the video. Just click that link. Let me know how you like to wear your makeup, any issues you might be having, what your current shades are, and I can help you troubleshoot or get a full match. As always, thank you guys so much for watching and being here, and I'll see you next week. Love you. Bye.